Hey, what's up, everybody? Bringing you a special edition of the Lions of Liberty podcast. For those of you who know that we have a Nittany level in the Lions of Liberty Pride, where you're able to produce one show per month coming from that level. And this month comes from Jason Carrier, who's been a longtime Pride member, and he has requested that we do a live watch of Mike Lindell's The My Pillow Guy documentary, docuseries, just a bunch of interviews titled Absolute Truth. So we did a live not a live watch, we did a live recording of it that a lot of people watched in the Lions of Liberty Pride. And I'm going to obviously play it after this intro here. I did talk with Jason, and we talked about the documentary a little bit, talked about the reasons why he wanted to, and I forgot to record, I guess. I swear I hit the record button, but I guess I didn't record the conversation with Jason, but just wanted to pass on once again that we are very, very thankful for Jason's support over these years. He's been a longtime Pride member, and, we're always thankful to have an excuse to get together and talk about crazy stuff like the My Pillow Guy and election fraud. So let's get right into it. All right, here we are. We're live, and we're here for another Nittany edition of the Lions of Liberty podcast, which, of course, is the show once a month where a Pride member, Nittany level and higher, get to produce a show. They get to pick what we watch or talk about or debate or all kinds of different crazy stuff. And this month, Jason Carrier wanted us to watch is it Lindell? Yeah, it's Lindell's.
Mike Lindell.
The My Pillow Guy. His documentary. Not really a documentary, but we'll get into that. So I'm joined by, if you're watching, of course you can see who I'm joined by, but if you're not, got Brian McWilliams. Got
hello.
The Godfather, Howie Snowden.
Hey.
And Liberty Rico.
For 10 minutes only.
Just 10 minutes, maybe 15 if you're lucky.
Maybe at the most.
He always says that, and then he stays on.
I got stuff to do tonight.
What? Do you have a lot of porn lined up on the back of the
and I'm doing my live watch diary of 90 Day Fiancé.
Oh, how exciting.
Hopefully you guys all are celebrating National Margarita Day, too. I already had mine. Don't want to miss that.
I'm not a big fan of the margarita, and I'm not a fan of making the margarita because it's too much fucking effort, man. It's too much effort.
Well, it doesn't have to be like a, all-out fancy margarita with frozen fruit and all that shit. You can just, pour some tequila and some squeeze of lime in a glass, and there you go, margarita.
I suppose. I'm not a big fan of tequila, though, either. So you're right. It's got everything I hate. Making
terrible
things, tequila. Tequila's awful. Ever since college, man, I can't. I remember we used to drink Sauza tequila a lot. Ugh, can't do it.
I love tequila. It's my favorite liquor. It has surpassed bourbon.
I find that to be ridiculous. You're a ridiculous human being. You don't like bourbon? Go to Mexico.
I love bourbon. I'm just saying tequila.
They're both good.
Right there. Yeah,
Did JB used to drink like a tequila and tomato juice or something weird?
That sounds
I still
awful.
don't think your microphone is connecting properly. You sound like you're using the general audio and not the microphone audio.
Check your inputs and outputs.
That's true.
Inputs, outputs, every time.
Sure is.
Yeah, JB used to always drink. Yeah, tequila and orange juice. Repulsive.
I had a work Zoom call today, and they're like, make sure you mute your microphones when you're not talking, or there's going to be echo coming through. It's like, yeah, because you're not wearing headphones like amateurs.
I got a podcasting mic here, you losers.
So let me ask this question that we all must be wondering, because I didn't know. I mean, the first question, does Mike Lindell have an ongoing show on the OAN network, or is this just a special event that they're airing for some reason?
I think I can answer that. I don't think he does. I think that he's actually paying them to keep it up there.
Yeah. Okay, that would make sense. And I've worked with clients before in the PR biz that would pay for that airtime, so that makes sense.
So I don't know if he has an ongoing show, but that thing that we watched that was 2 hours, he also did like individual hours with all the people that were on it, plus other people. Like he's got a lot more content. So if he wants a show, he can put out a show.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
There's
sure he's got
also
plenty of money.
another show on OAN where it's what's the guy's name from Breitbart?
Oh, Steve Bannon.
Steve Bannon interviewing Mike Lindell about.
Yeah, that's what so that's where I first, when I went to watch this, because whatever that cloud TV bullshit was, where it would not work on my desktop, making me very furious.
Cloud with a K, so you know they're all racist.
Yeah. But I finally get it to work. I click on one of the options, and it was a 3-hour version of this documentary, quote documentary, if it can so be called, wherein Steve Bannon and Mike Lindell are talking about the interviews in between the interviews, and I was about to kill myself. But fortunately, I realized that was actually the wrong version.
Do you want to hear something really stupid that he did?
Yes.
So this one dude, I didn't see him on that. I think he's going to be on something to release later. He went out to be part of this, and Mike Lindell sent out his private jet to pick him up. But he picked up everybody, all the people that had information about election interference were all on one jet. That's major corporations don't even let all the CEOs fly on the same plane.
That would have been a fun jet to be on, though.
Well, especially with the chick that
shot down.
That one blonde chick that was that seemed like she was definitely drunk when she was doing her Senate hearing. She was definitely on that plane. She was in the documentary today. We watched.
Did you see her stripper pictures?
No.
Well, I feel like you need to find them and send them to me so I can see them right now.
I'll see if I can find them again.
This keeps getting better and better.
I do recall when I saw her testifying, I was like, she ain't bad. She's doable. And now I understand why, because she was a former stripper.
That doesn't make what you're saying not true, though.
Yeah.
Doesn't make what she's saying not true?
Right, just because you're a stripper doesn't mean we can't listen to her.
Or because you're drunk doesn't mean we can't listen to you. We can listen to her even if she was drunk.
Just because you're a crack addict doesn't mean we can't listen to you.
The person telling the utmost truth.
I mean, the Chinese put a crack addict on a board.
Well, Rico, are you unaware that Mike Lindell is a crack addict?
Oh, no, I wasn't aware of that, but I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, that was his thing. He was a really bad crack addict, almost died a bunch of times, and he found Jesus and started My Pillow.
He had so much crack he couldn't
That's what
sleep.
Jesus wanted him to do.
Can you believe he thought the fact he couldn't sleep was because of his pillow?
Yeah, he's like, I don't know what it is. I just can't get I'm rolling over.
This pillow feels like it has rocks in it. Oh, it does have rocks in it.
Is this full of spiders? Are there spiders in this pillow? They're crawling under my skin. That's his pet. He's like, I've been in My Pillow, spider free. Everyone, I checked them individually.
Well, I mean, that is if you can get a pillow that a crack addict can sleep on, I think you've mastered the technology, right?
That's the best advertisement ever. We tested with 1,000 crack addicts.
I'm actually
over 500 of them got a full night's rest.
I'm actually concerned. I think he's a good guy who's trying to do what he believes in, but everybody's coming after him. He's being sued for $1.3 billion by Dominion. What if they drive him back to crack? That's what I'm like. I see it happening in slow motion.
Well, doesn't Dominion have to sue? They can't just be like, you guys have, come after our entire, election software and hardware, everything we do. You can't just leave it out there. They kind of have to sue.
Well, the thing is, one, are they going to be able to prove any loss of reputation? That doesn't seem to it's going to hurt their business because the government's not going to stop using Dominion. None of the other countries are going to stop using. They'll be like, they can be manipulated. Fantastic. They might even do better busins.
And Rico, wouldn't this open them up to discovery then too?
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering.
But there'll be so many, I bet, limitations. They'll get some friendly judge. He's like, "Oh no, you can't, examine the servers because then you could figure out how to hack them." Right.
Election security is at stake.
Yeah, so it's all fucking bullshit, but we knew that anyways.
Going off of Lindell still just for a second, I could not get over the fact that this guy, it's like, I get he was loyal to Trump and people liked him for being outspoken, but he has to be one of the doofiest sounding imbeciles and one of the worst interviewers I've ever watched in my entire life. This is, for me anyway, utterly painful to watch all of his interactions. with these people that were on the show. It's just he's like, so you're telling me that China's coming in and hacking? What? I was like, oh God, like
100% proof. 100%.
Just about after every time somebody says something, he's just like, wow. And you're like, wasn't really that exciting of a thing. And it's like, all right.
I only got through 8 minutes of it, to be honest. When he started giving those numbers, that's insane. When he started giving those numbers,
the actual documentary,
and they were complete round numbers. 100,000 votes were. It's like, well, are you trying? I mean,
well, did you read at the bottom? It said
exactness matters.
Did you read at the bottom? It said estimate.
Oh, well, no, I didn't see any caveat of where he got those numbers.
I didn't catch it the first time, but yeah, that's the thing. We need sources. Where are these numbers coming from?
Yeah,
like, I mean,
did he ever? He never gave the sources.
I've heard these news stories and stuff, but like
a second grader knows. Like, if you're going to put out a number, you have to have some kind of backup for it.
I would imagine they're coming from like the sworn affidavits and things, which are, they're evidence, but they need to be investigated and looked into. It's not proof.
Even then, like some of the numbers he was putting on there were like, I don't know, he's like, this many illegal aliens, this many, and it's like some of the, there was one category, I can't remember what it was, but it was so unquantifiable. I was like, what? How can you even throw this shit out here? Because it doesn't seem to make any sense.
Another thing he failed to point out is when he was talking about Georgia, he's like, Trump lost Georgia by 10,000 votes. And there was, 30,000 of votes from these categories. You just throw those out and Trump won. Yeah. It's like, well, just because, I mean, it doesn't prove 100% of that category cast a vote for Biden. I mean, it could be logical to think that, but
when they're talking about the illegal aliens in Arizona, it's probably true.
Yeah,
but if you're talking about that, or if you're talking about any of the mail-in ballots, like apparently 80% of the mail-in ballots were Biden. So,
yeah, I don't know. The whole thing he went through is just ridiculous. So that wasn't even like I said. That was before he even got into the documentary part of it, where he's actually talking to real experts. This was just him running down random stats for 10 minutes.
That was just a little foreplay to get you.
Yeah, that was that wasn't even the gist of it. The gist of it was the Dominion voting machines were hacked by communist China, and they stole the election. And it's the greatest.
Yeah, that was basically the whole overarching message of the entire documentary. That was the conclusion. That was the message.
Which honestly could be true, but I saw no evidence to prove that.
Yeah. It could be, and I actually really doubt it. That's my biggest complaint with a lot of these people. A lot of people are showing evidence of how do you say it? Maybe say people hacking into machines or manipulating the data. And they're like, well, these are Chinese IP addresses. But everybody knows you can disguise that kind of shit. We all know that the CIA lost a toolkit purposely for that
mentioned
to blame another country for that kind of thing.
That whole hacking of the Democratic server. It has Russian footprints. It's like, do you remember a year earlier that whole news about the CIA toolkit that puts in traces of other countries, but no one just pretends that never happened.
Yeah.
We don't know this.
So any cybersecurity expert that says this proves it was China, I don't believe that cybersecurity expert anymore. And that seems to be the gist of the thing. The first guy that was on, he said he's a former government person. He said he worked in information warfare, and is these are the telltale signs. And it's I think you're doing some information warfare right now against China. I'm not saying
Colonel Phil Waldron.
I'm not saying that China wouldn't or couldn't do this, but I don't think they'd be so sloppy. And you can't say that for sure. So I don't know why you would come in and be absolute proof. This is what happened, when this is evidence for an investigation. This should be looked into, but it certainly is not absolute proof for their grand conclusion.
Yeah. Well, just real quick before we get more into this, can I just also, like I said, I know he's a guy that supported Trump, yada, yada, but why does he think that he should be doing this? Why? I mean, at this point, it's over. And is anybody actually going to legitimately watch this fucking horrible 2-hour piece of shit? And like, I mean, everything about it was terribly done. The music cues, the editing, like it was the worst produced thing I've ever seen. He's got all this money. Can't you hire a competent editor to tell you, like, you got to make it somewhat interesting, Mike, or people are going to fall asleep, pillow or not, crack or not. You're going to pull them to sleep watching this shit.
Dude, the like crazy music would start up. And I'd start checking my
for
other
no
tabs.
reason.
I'd start
random, totally random.
I'd start checking my other internet tabs. I'm like, do I have something else playing in a different tab? I'm like,
I know.
What is this? This is
the guy's
is that a piano? Like, why am I hearing a piano? What's happening?
Yeah. I kept thinking I was getting email notifications because there was one piece of music that was playing like lowly, but then it kept going bing gong, and I was like, looking at my phone, like Howie, looking at my internet tabs, trying to figure out if I have incoming mail. I was like, what the hell is happening? Yeah, just no. It's like they realized on some level how boring the entire thing was, and like, all right, put in some music to mix it up. But again, didn't correspond with the guests leaving, coming or leaving, just randomly inserted for no reason whatsoever. And also, no cutaways to graphics. I mean, this was more or less like watching a student give a presentation in high school than it was, some sort of education / info product, because at least you'd think like get some B-roll, get some footage of people walking around the Dominion systems, get some footage of people standing around fucking voting centers, use some shots of Donald Trump, get some images of Chinese people eating. I don't know, whatever you want to fucking do to mix it up, man, but have something visually other than you as sitting next to a dude and pointing at a screen behind you for 2 hours.
If only Alex Jones had done this instead.
Would have been awesome.
Well, after I watched this, I watched a little bit of InfoWars for a while, and that's entertainment. Let me tell you.
I haven't watched that in a while. I gotta check it out.
It's on OAN. You have the login now, so you can watch it anytime you want to.
So I thought the most interesting person he had on was Dr. Shiva. I don't know.
Yeah, but he didn't even talk about like the stuff I've seen him talk about before. He was talking about his own. He didn't talk about this election at all, but he just talked about how these voting machines can be and are hacked, and how in his race how it was hacked. And I didn't I'd heard the name before, but I didn't know a lot about him. And they mentioned that he invented email. I'm like, that can't be right. So I looked it up, and apparently he did. Though there's one person who says no, I did, but. It seems like he might.
Did he Zuckerberg, one of the Winklevosses, in regards to the email?
But he was 14 years old when he did it.
Listen to this Wikipedia thing about him. V.A. Shiva Ayyadurai is an Indian-American engineer, politician, entrepreneur, and promoter of conspiracy theories, pseudoscience, and unfounded medical claims. I think he said some stuff against the mainstream narrative on COVID.
Yeah.
That's where the unfounded medical claims.
I was going to say, I hope the unverified medical claims he goes to bars and he's picking up checks. He's like, I'm Dr. Shiva. I invented email and the supercock. You want to see the supercock? I'll show you in the back of the car.
Now, I think it's stuff like hydroxychloroquine works, masks are bullshit. Truth.
Yeah.
But the way he was saying, at least with his election and those machines, those machines are shady as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust election machines. I don't the way I look at these elections. I always figured at least federal elections to some degree were rigged, because they're not going to there's all this money, especially the presidential election, all this money at stake. I mean, so much influence from mega multinational corporations. You're just going to sit back and let the freaking people pick who's president? No, that's ridiculous.
Well, I would hope. I guess my faith was always placed in. Not like the free market model, but always placed in there's so much evil and so much money, but that's got to be evil on both sides, right? Everybody's got vested interests, so hopefully they all just kind of even out.
Well,
we use this example
before, a long time ago, when we were talking, maybe there was an election conspiracy theory or corner, and I was like, if people don't think Trump was trying to cheat too, you're a fucking idiot. Or maybe the Democrats did it.
I don't know, and not just the election stuff, but what it appears to me is Republicans play by the rules and the Democrats don't, and that's why they always win. Not just for elections, but just for anything. The Democrats will just change the rules on the fly all the time. Be like, oh, whatever. No, it's different when you did it. Now we can do it. And
Yeah.
I do think
people are so easily brainwashed.
Hold on. Well, yeah, hold on. Let's also not presume that the people that are backing the Republicans are necessarily Republicans. Let's put them in that camp. Just because they are backing the candidate and have vested interest in the Republican doesn't mean that they are political at all, other than, looking out for the interests of the companies or whatever hobbies they have. Just like on the Democratic side, let's not presume that the people that are cheating on their behalf are Democrats either. These might be political operatives with no real ideological benefit or ideological bent other than self benefit.
They're all fascists.
Yeah, I mean, who has an actual coherent political philosophy that would stick to?
Exactly. Well, true, but I
think there's one group that has a rational political philosophy.
Yeah, the group with the least amount of power. Well, other than the Green Party, we're better than those. Go fucks.
And the people that hate each other the most.
The Green people, I guarantee you, hate each other too. They're probably out there arguing over whether or not the koalas need to be saved first, or they should go after the endangered yaks in the Mongolian mountains.
Actually, we had some Greens join our local county affiliate, Libertarians, because they said the Green Party was so dysfunctional they couldn't take it. So.
Can you imagine to be a fly on the wall then? I would love to see the Democratic Socialist meetings versus the Green Party meetings versus Libertarian meetings, and just see who really is the king of dysfunction. Because I have a hard time believing that it's worse than Libertarians.
We should be delegates for the Green Party next time.
I was reading some.
There's got to be more chicks there.
I was reading some story on Reason yesterday, which I usually don't because they annoy me so much. But the comments are great, and there was one comment, and at first I thought it was a parody account, but apparently the guy was serious. He's like, "There is a lot of libertarianism in government regulations because the government regulations are looking out for your best interest." So you can lead a good life, which is libertarian. I was like,
oh, God.
That had to be a troll.
No, it wasn't. It was like, but
these are the people that came to our podcast because we advertised on Reason for a while, and we got a good number of listeners from it. But we had a couple of freaking twats that wrote 1-star reviews, one of which was that we are alt-right talking points.
Oh yeah, I was on that show.
Okay.
Yeah, that was me and Howie. Because we just mentioned at the beginning something about abortion. Like, it's probably it's probably not good to cheer for abortion. It's like, what's wrong with this?
Alt-right.
I don't like
or even talking about it, putting some limitations on abortions. Like, me, like, not to make this an abortion show, myabortion.com.
Actually, I think Mike Lindell had an abortion movie.
An abortion movie, or he had an abortion?
No, a movie. Let me look it up because
was it as enthralling as the one we just watched? Is it just 2 hours of him pointing at a TV of abortions behind him and going, I don't like that?
He was talking about how Twitter also shut him down when his Unplanned movie came out. I think his Unplanned movie might have been an abortion movie.
Wow. He needs a creative director kind of advising him on some stuff.
I got to look it up. See what kind of rating it got.
So how you just bought a MyPillow?
It hasn't come yet. I can't wait. I just hope it doesn't.
Damn it!
My buddy bought one. And he said it's actually awesome, but the thing is, you have to keep washing it. I guess when you wash it and dry it, because it's foam pieces. And it gets matted down, and you have to wash it to expand it. And he was like, it's annoying to have to wash your goddamn pillow every 2 weeks.
Normally, pillows, you never wash them. They just collect all your dead face cells and hair cells. And
all your spit coming out of your mouth. This one comedian I'm friends with named Kip Madsen, who's a pretty funny guy. I used to have a joke. And he's like, you ever taken off the pillowcase? Look at your pillow? It's like, I didn't realize that I was just leaking battery acid out of my head at night. It's like, it is. Sometimes you look at it, you're like, why is it black? What is coming out of my body?
My pillows are perfectly clean.
Of course they are.
Yeah,
so,
right. Okay.
I can't wait to try it out. I hear they're great, but I'm afraid I'm going to go to sleep and wake up like a QAnon person. But anyways, I looked it up. Unplanned was an abortion movie, and it got a 5.8. and I'm pretty sure Dan Smots did like a review of this. I think he had the actress in it, like on his show. Here's what it's about. All Abby Johnson ever wanted to do was help women. As one of the youngest Planned Parenthood clinic directors in the nation, she believed in a woman's right to choose until the day she saw something that changed everything.
See, that sounds like an actual documentary, sort of.
Yeah.
Not just...
Well, who said this was a documentary?
It advertises a documentary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just absolute proof, but it's not.
Absolute proof. Let's dig into this.
Absolutely good reasons to look into.
Yeah, why don't we start going through it? So
I don't even know how to start, but I guess we can just go through each person here a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Just run through. Start with the guy who said that the Chinese people own Dominion, and
so that's Colonel Phil Waldron, and his was relatively short. I also thought it was interesting, like during the interviews, like how he was saying that there's like you can watch the full interview somewhere else. And it would just like cut off at the oddest time.
Yeah,
so
he's got an hour with all these people.
Going down a thought, then it would just like stop and then cut in like them talking about something else altogether, which I thought was kind of
without any transition music. They save that for random times where it makes no sense. Also, there was one guy on here that I didn't even have time to. I think I had him on he was on there for like 1 minute. Pat Colbeck later on. I went to the bathroom and I came back and he was gone. I was like, all right.
Pat, former state senator in Michigan.
Oh, yeah, his was actually pretty good. He was being – I got to find this woman's name because I want to shame her. She is like the Michigan Attorney General, like threatening.
Yeah, Nessel.
Yeah. I actually went to her Twitter. I was kind of like tweet something like, you're fucking bitch tyrant, but I didn't.
Probably good of you not to do that.
Don't tag the Lions account when you do that.
So this Phil Waldron guy – he did say that it was a Chinese communist ownership. The Chinese Communist Party has ownership in the private equity firm that owns Dominion. I believe he said that. I don't know if that's
I wouldn't be
true.
surprised.
That doesn't necessarily mean that they have a controlling in it. They probably just the Chinese government as a whole has investment in a shit ton of American interest in businesses, in real estate. As do Chinese companies as a whole. That probably have some portion owned by China. So that alone to me is like whatever. He also was talking about how the code. Now this is more interesting. Is that the company apparently, if he's to believe, that writes the code for Dominion is located in Shenzhen and is a company that is tied with the communist government. That to me is more damning.
Yes. Yeah. To me, I totally agree. Chinese business interests doesn't matter. They probably have business interest in everything I interact with. But the fact that the company that tests the code and the only place where they have the code is a company in China. If that company is in China, China has all that data.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
because
one of those
China steals the data. Like when I worked for Westinghouse, we were building nuke plants over there. Anytime an executive would go over, anyone to work, you wouldn't even take your regular computer. You would take one that was like stripped down to nothing because they just knew that they would just steal everything off of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go there.
Well, to Odie's point, yeah. I mean, IP theft is a big thing. Corporate data theft is a big thing. I mean, that was like a big topic of legislation and content, or wasn't it? Like that was a big topic of maybe what Trump was trying to do, or maybe it was even during the Obama era. But corporate espionage, and they were trying to attack it like from an IP level. I remember like the American Movie Association was getting involved because it was just so prevalent in that virtually anything like manufacturing wise, even because it's so cheap to manufacture over there, you basically, like I'll give you an example. My dad was working with a guy who made LED Christmas lights, like the very first LED Christmas lights. And he goes, well, we're made them over there. He goes, we probably have about 3 months before they immediately turn around, rip it off and have their own version. So we're just going to try to market it quick, get it done. And then, it is what it is.
So the other thing that this guy said, this Phil Waldron guy, and I've heard this before, that there were foreign servers in Barcelona, the UK, and Frankfurt. I don't know if that's true, because wasn't there like a raid after the election of one of the places where they thought the servers were?
Supposedly, I don't think I believe that, because apparently it was like a shootout against like Americans, and they were saying that Gina Haspel, the former director of the CIA, was like killed during this raid, which. I mean, no. I I haven't seen her since, but I also don't think it's true.
Had not heard that.
No.
Wait, you said the old CIA director was killed in a shootout?
That's what they were saying,
No
like
way.
on
That
like
can't be true.
4chan and Reddit.
Yeah.
Wow,
Have there
that's-
one prediction been true yet?
I mean,
Yeah,
that's where we
The
all
New York
heard about
Post
this from. That's where this
the New York
news came
Post
from.
has false reports claim CIA director Gina Haspel is dead. So, and this is by Reuters. So no, it's false. She's alive.
Yeah. I just find it hard to believe that. I mean, for a lot of things like data sovereignty, like you're not allowed to host like your data in like outside the US or things like that. I would imagine that your election data would fall under that category. I mean, but then again, it's each state. Maybe states are fucking stupid and don't do what they should. That's possible too.
Well,
But
the next
I wouldn't
guy,
be surprised.
the next guy, Russell Ramsland, he said that 27 states use overseas servers.
But
So
they could
Is anyone going to prove this shit, or just like?
They could be
Well-
like American servers segregated on a separate.
That's what I
network.
think it is. Because you like look at I know the government uses a ton of Amazon storage, a ton. And they use their cloud services.
Yeah.
Amazon, I'm sure, does not have all their servers here because they're a global company. A lot of that's going to be in China and using their web services or wherever globally. So, of course, they're going to have it spread out. So they probably don't realize it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that the data is going to be on those servers as opposed to other ones. But yeah, it's definitely shady, especially when you compare it to other industries like working with visual effects firms, right? Here in Hollywood. They have like Disney has exceptionally high security protocols in which you're not allowed to have shit like on connected to the internet half the time. That's changed during COVID a bit, but they had like lockdown protocols that all these visual effects houses had to abide by so that the intellectual property didn't get stolen. But I wouldn't be surprised the government did not have that same thing in place because the government is run by fucking morons. So
It's something that was brought up that I think is important is the fact that these machines are capable of connecting to the internet. If they are capable, you might as well assume that some of them were.
yeah. Well, the one guy pointed out that Dominion in its own manual is like, make sure it's plugged into the Ethernet cable. Although there's no way you're going to have every machine on the fucking floor plugged into the Ethernet.
Dude, you could have an Ethernet cable connecting something on a separate network, like an intranet, but that doesn't mean, when he said that doesn't mean it's connected to the like regular internet.
Yeah.
But they are capable of being connected to the internet. So that's an issue. They shouldn't be.
So what else here? Talking about this is one thing that I think does need to go into the courts, which probably won't, where you talk about like the ballots that need to be adjudicated.
Yeah.
And I think it was Atrium County, Michigan, where this guy claimed that 82% of ballots were rejected.
68%.
68, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two different people had said that. The first guy, the guy that was a cyber forensics guy who looked like he was about 70. And, you always want to trust 70-year-old guys when it comes to cybersecurity and computing issues. But also sounded exactly like Don Knotts. Like, did you hear what he was like? You ever seen Incredible Mr. Limpet? He's like, wow, it's insane. But that was the guy who was saying, yeah, the Antrim County, and they did an investigation into that, and that the systems were accessible with the back root tools. And then a guy later, Matt DePerno, was talking about 68% error rate, and those got sent off to adjudication, wherein people basically can decide whether that is, which way to put the vote because you can't tell by the automatic scan. So essentially, it's coming down to people still who might have a vested interest in one candidate or the other being able to toss those votes one way or the other way. And it's also 70% rate that was going, at least in this one county.
That seems much more likely to me of somebody flipping ballots that way than like someone in China hacking in and switching the votes.
I agree. I mean, I think this is something that easily is probably a way that either party could sway an election by using something like
and
that.
that guy that was talking about it, they let them do like actual like recounts and examine the software in some smaller counties in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did the hand recounts, it was like more Trump votes than Biden. Like Trump would have won the county, but he hadn't. And some of the system files had been removed from the systems, which should not be I think it's like 22 months. You're not supposed to like touch any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that would like seriously hinder a forensic audit with those files gone.
Well, that's what the guy Shiva was saying. He said that, I think it might have been in his race as well, that they're supposed to have the ballot images on all of these things after they're scanned through, but that they mass deleted all the ballot images. So there's no possible way to go back through after. If the original ballots are destroyed or deleted, you can't go back to find them.
That should just invalidate the election, in my opinion.
Right. But I mean, the forensics guy also made a good point about just the fact that, the judges, no judges are willing to hear these cases. Not even to get into the suppression shit with Michigan, but I don't know if you saw that Clarence Thomas story where he descended from the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court it didn't look at any of the lawsuits, and specifically in Pennsylvania. And Clarence Thomas said the same thing that I said. You should take the fucking thing on. You're the goddamn Supreme Court. If half the nation thinks that this election was stolen, take it on, hear the evidence, and then make a ruling. Wouldn't that be a lot better than to say you're not going to listen to it at all? And now everybody still thinks, half the country still thinks that this shit got stolen from them? Yeah,
didn't Clarence Thomas, I don't remember the exact quote, but he said something like, this is not conducive to like transparency and confidence in the system.
Yeah, exactly. And he's right.
And freaking Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah.
They went with the
backstabbers.
Yeah. Which is, I'm just blown away by it.
Alito, and who was the other dude who dissented?
I don't know. I thought only Clarence Thomas had.
No, there were three that dissented.
Yeah, they only needed one more.
Yeah.
Pieces of shit.
But yeah,
that's why you don't put women on the Supreme Court.
That was something that's brought up all the time. Like, judges and courts have not adjudicated on this evidence. And a lot of the stuff that they talked about in this thing, I mean, granted, it's just like a condensed like show. Here's what we have. Like some stuff, it's like, I need to see this. Like, where'd you get this from? What's the source? This kind of thing. Like things that would come out in court. Yeah. Like to me, they had great arguments for why this should be looked at in court. Everything seems shady as fuck and really suspicious. My only complaint is it's not as titled absolute proof.
Mm-hmm.
It's your only complaint?
Yeah, I definitely would say I didn't come away from this thinking, wow, they sold me. It basically, and as we were discussing kind of when we were just kind of bullshitting before we officially began this, God, I keep biting my fucking cheek. It's killing me. Most of what I've seen here, I already read about from news reports from the Washington Times or the Epoch Times or any number of other sources showing this American Thinker and Gateway Pundit, all those places, all those more conservative sources had been repeating all this shit. So this is nothing really that's new news, with the exception of the last chick. Because they had the crazy drunk chick on, the former stripper, basically, and even her accounts. She says she's walking around for 22 hours and she only saw votes for Biden. Agreed. And that they were scanning in the same votes, so it might be multi-counting in there. I agree. That's if she says she saw it, it makes you go, okay, it's suspicious. But at the same time, I don't know.
I don't believe her.
Detroit, where there's a lot of there's a lot of people that are voting for Biden anyway.
She said she saw thousands of votes and not one for Trump. I don't believe that.
To remember every TV screen or every vote screen you're looking at, you're walking around. I don't know. You probably remember seeing votes for Biden. But memory is a tricky thing. On a recent show, I thought I slipped on the banana peel when Rico had slipped on the banana peel. You confuse things in your brain sometimes.
You convinced me of that, too. I thought you did as well.
Yeah. I think
we were
it was
all
another
there.
time I did.
2 or 3 people there thought something wrong.
I think I've heard you tell the story before that you slipped on a banana peel when Rico wasn't there.
I think I have slipped on a banana peel. Well, actually, I have, but I'm confusing that with the time Rico slipped on the banana peel.
Are you sure you're not confusing it with Billy Madison?
I am 100% sure that I did not see an imaginary penguin, nor did I date Pete Sampras's current wife, the hot teacher in that film, who I did see.
Pete Sampras's wife? Really?
Yeah. Wow. Pete Sampras, former tennis star, Pete Sampras, dated. And Pete Sampras, former tennis star and dark-haired Gutenberg clone, was eating at an Islands with his wife, and I saw him. That's the benefit of living in Los Angeles.
Impressive.
You can go to a
Very
shitty
impressive.
burger chain and see Pete Sampson, the hot teacher from Billy Madison. But anyway, yeah, other than like Shiva, I've heard all his shit before. The only chick I didn't really hear much about before this is Mary Fanning.
Mhm.
And I didn't get to finish because I had issues getting the login. So I had about 10 minutes of the end of the movie I didn't see, but she was the one talking about China logging in with the IP addresses, what we were talking about earlier, and how that's easily altered by government sources if they wanted to do it. But at the same time, I don't know. She's saying that by the footprints, China went in and changed the votes to Biden specifically, and you can see the hack attempts. You can see how many there were when they happened. And I mean,
that's the key. Right, stop right there. So yeah, I'm super skeptical that it was definitely China that did it. But if they're saying they can see votes flipping, like I want to know more about that. How do they know that? If that's fucking true, who cares who did it? That's a big issue. Like,
yeah.
And how? But how would that not get caught in a recount? That's my question.
Well, from what I understand, they're not doing like full real audits. They're just counting ballots. I don't know. The whole thing is
the thing
confusing.
is here's the question: is how many? I don't know what county she was talking about specifically.
Oh no! I'm sorry.
Did they do a hand recount in that county or not? You know,
I know I was confused. I was confused about like a different conspiratorial issue is when there were like fake ballots and shit. If you're hand counting the fake ballots again, like it doesn't.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, exactly.
It's like in Georgia.
You need to verify if it's a legal ballot you're counting, which is what they didn't do. They just recounted them all.
And they didn't verify the signatures on the ballot.
Right. That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in Georgia and Pennsylvania, you get a mail-in ballot, comes in an envelope. They take the envelope, it's gone.
Right.
Then they have the ballot. So you at any point in time, you could just slip in. Oh, here's a whole other box of ballots. Yeah, they never matched it up with the envelopes.
So one thing this stripper girl mentioned, she said like they would feed the ballots into this machine, and it would be like a 50 ballot batch, and there's like a counter on the machine. And if one of them got jammed and it jammed constantly, they would like feed them all back through, and she'd be like, "Wait, this machine's got a 400 ballot count. It shouldn't be over 50. Like this is a problem."
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Listen, don't want to hear about problems here." And like talk about the boss there, and he was like a co-owner of Dominion,
which is hard to believe. But I haven't seen that refuted. You would think that would be like easily refuted by Dominion. Like, oh, we know our guy wasn't there because he was here. So,
well, the thing is, though, if she's saying that they have a barcode, like I think she specifically said they have barcodes on them, though. You'd think the machine would automatically say
they
that
do, some places they
been...
don't. Some places they do, some places they don't.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think, well, if they did have a barcode, you would think that barcode would be automatically in the system, and you wouldn't be able to run it again. Just like you can't use the same barcoded ticket to get into a sporting event if it's already been scanned.
I would bet you like $500 that's not true in all of the American electoral counties.
No, probably not. Probably not.
So the last lady, I mean, just to talk about her a little more, she's showing that rolling spreadsheet that would show like where the attempt came in from, the IP address, the country, and then where it went to in the U.S., the state, the county, and then ultimately how many votes were stolen. Which, how do you figure? Like, where's the math there? Like, where's all the everything else where you're figuring that out?
I didn't understand that either. How she can tell if it was flipped from one to the other one by tracking an entrance via IP. I don't understand how you could track that back.
It seems really shady. I would need to know more, but from just the little bit that they were saying, like I'm just discounting it.
Well, he seemed to think that she was like the nail in the coffin because he saved her for last, and he's like, "Oh no, wow!" I was like, I don't know, whatever, man.
So,
and I'm like Fox Mulder. I want to believe, but
just my personal opinion, like to me, the biggest thing, just it looking rigged, is those spikes after they like shut down the voting centers and all these like battleground states, and then you see all these like, all for Biden, straight line up. And to me, I don't think some sophisticated hack attack like happened. To me, it's like the people that they're like, shit, we're down this many. And they start pulling out the duffel bags of ballots and then start scanning them in. And probably because they're in such a rush, they just put Biden, didn't fill out all the down ticket stuff.
Right.
Like, to me, I think it was probably more low tech things like that. Like, that's much easier to get away with that, or the fact, I don't think we mentioned that it could have been something like this, that the fact that the Dominion machines have a setting for weighted elections where like a vote for a certain candidate could count as like 2/3 a vote and the other candidate like 1 1/3.
Why would that ever even be a feature?
Yeah, like why would you?
Because they're clearly selling to vote counters in Mumbai or Venezuela
or the United States.
Like, are they thinking they're like, just in case America goes back to a black person's 2/3 a person, we got to be ready.
We call it the Jim Crow provision. We make sure it's in every system.
But
that is super shady. But like I said, I feel like that would be too easily trackable going back. Like there'd be some setting like, oh, this switch was flipped. We could see it, or it would come out in the code. But then again, you'd have to have somebody actually be permissed to go and do some investigations, which none of these judges have taken on. So
that's what Shiva, I've seen him talk about before on YouTube videos with the election, not about his race, but showing like the actual statistical anomalies of how like the data spreads and like didn't make sense at all. Like as you got more Republican, Biden got more votes, like shit like that just made zero sense.
Exactly.
I mean, he used to think it's a possibility. And the fact that all these election officials, especially in like the counties and places where happen these big, heavily Democratic areas, they're so corrupt. And it's like, if it's built into the programming from the beginning, or if you're feeding in fake ballots, that's so much easier to get away with than like trying to hack in the middle of the election, flipping votes and shit like that. To me, just seems like didn't happen.
I would concur. But at the same time, I don't know, there is so much that can be done in the way of like looking for example, if you do have we have definitive proof that the votes were flipped, at least in Antrim County, right? So we know that there is a system. We know it does have problems. We know the error rate is high. And in that one county, we know the votes were flipped. So if we know they were flipped, why were they flipped? How did it happen? And I haven't heard a good explanation as to why and how that happened. So that makes you think that, okay, maybe it is going to be simpler to do it via electronic means if you know how to do it.
I have an explanation because we live in a corrupt banana republic.
Well, agreed. Agreed. And also, let's talk about this real quick, too. The chick, Nessel, right? This Mish bitch, this Michigan attorney general, who one of the guys was saying had outwardly just been threatening people in Michigan. Anybody that dared, there was a lawyer that tried to aid in getting things recounted.
Even on Twitter, everyone can see her threatening them all.
Yeah, just threatening people, that they're basically threatening them with disbarring them or coming after them because they took a vow to uphold the state constitution in Michigan, and by questioning election results, somehow they were breaking that vow and thus could be disbarred. So there was some strong arm tactics that was unbelievably shady from this chick. And why would you do that if you have nothing to hide? Why would you be doing that?
Yeah, Michigan has been the ugliest state with stuff like this. There was that when they were going to verify the votes, and the one county had like their virtual Zoom meeting to verify, and two of the Republicans voted against it, and the Democrats were on there like threatening, saying where they lived and talking about their children and shit. Fucked up, man. Like,
that's worse than Pennsylvania.
Yep,
it's pretty bad.
But there was also, I can't remember who said it. It might have been that same guy with Nat DePerno, and Howie and you, I think you both mentioned it earlier, but in those counties that, like you said, it's insane when you look at the number of people in heavily Republican counties and still have those results coming from Biden. That's one of the biggest eye openers.
Yeah, but it was as the county got more Republican, it got a higher percentage of Biden-only votes. So just Biden and no down ticket. Which
no
makes
down ticket. Right. That just makes it look very clear that there's voter fraud going on and mail-in voter fraud, which just seems like if there's one thing that people should stop fucking saying, it's that this election had no fraud and that there wasn't more fraud in a mail voting election, because clearly there is. There always has been in mail-in voting. And when you have, 4 million times more people doing it, of course you're going to have 4 million times more fucking fraud.
Amazon doesn't want to let mail-in voting on their unionization thing. They're
exactly. For good reason, because they know it will be tampered with. It's always tampered with. It's so fucking easy, especially with people. You have people that are operatives, and again, this is where you say if you're Republicans, you should be doing the same amount of this shit. But Democrats typically have, but Democrats have more young, stupid people that are willing to go out and do it, and more people that are immigrants that are willing to go out and get these things going. But they just go up to old people's houses. Like, what was it in Minnesota? There's people that are whistleblowers talking about not Tlaib. What's the other chick from Minnesota?
Omar.
Oh,
Ilhan
yes.
Omar?
Ilhan Omar, where they went around and he's like, yeah, I get paid. I go and I go to old people's houses and I get their ballots and I pay them money. And it's like, it's a scam. When you're using mail-in voting, it's a scam, and ballot harvesting is a thing. It should be fucking illegal. It's not, but they're not even doing it legally. They're doing it illegally. So of course there's going to be massive voter fraud. And the people that have already done it and done it most successfully have been Democrats.
Yeah, but advice to Republicans: you're not going to get justice in the courts. You better get better at ballot harvesting and all this other shit. Catch up with the times. This is a Machiavellian cutthroat game, guys. Let's go.
Yep. They're not going to, though. I mean, honestly, I think as long as there is mail-in voting, we're heading full speed towards socialism. I mean, I can't see anything stopping it.
So something I wanted to clarify, or not clarify, just point out. I mentioned that I don't think that this is proof that the communist Chinese did this. As I said, it could be faked. To me, the number one suspect is the U.S. government did this.
CIA, FBI.
CIA, deep state.
The one guy talked about that. He's like, "Where's the FBI on this?"
Yeah, exactly. This was. I would doubt that even if it was routed through foreign IP addresses. I think this is a U.S. government deep state inside job.
Yeah. I could easily see that as well. Wouldn't surprise me in any way. It's not like Trump, even though he kept appointing swamp members in there, it's not like he had made a lot of friends. I mean, the Bill Barr, I always say Bob Barr. The Bill Barr, not telling Trump that he was that they had Hunter Biden under investigation while he's in the presidency, talking about the laptop at Hunter Biden, and his Department of Justice doesn't tell him they're investigating Hunter Biden, which would have been very helpful for him to know. It's like they clearly everybody in there hated him that worked from the establishment, that from the deep state perspective.
Yeah, Bill Barr's just like a George W. Bush, establishment Republican. Like he's
exactly.
You know who else is Durham? So don't hope that the Durham report is going to do anything either.
No, it's all a fucking show so that they can go, well, we investigated, and then it'll come to nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, as Ron Paul said, all of these things are like commissions, whatever. They're made to cover up crimes, not expose them. And so just like Nancy Pelosi is calling for this 9/11 style commission for January 6th. It's just going to be to cover it up or to maybe just fabricate a new story.
And Merrick Garland's going to make it his top priority. Looking into systematic racism. Good. That's what we all want the Department of Justice to look into.
They asked him in the confirmation hearing say about Hunter Biden. He said he can't comment on it.
I hope they're going to look into Cuomo, which I think they actually.
Oh, he's fucked.
He's going down.
Everybody's throwing him under the bus. He's done. He's done. Yep. Like he's the last person I'd want to be today. Like even though I had like a little work crisis shit's going wrong. I'm like, God, at least I'm not fucking Andrew Cuomo.
But you do have nipple rings like Andrew Cuomo.
I see. I thought that he was
not anymore. I had.
I thought that Cuomo was like an untouchable in the Democratic establishment, like the Clintons or Obamas or whatever. Apparently not, because I guess, the Democrats are getting lined up to shove Kamala up our ass in 2024. They don't want Cuomo spoiling the party.
You don't think we'll have her sooner?
He's just became too much of a liability. He's like Fredo.
Right.
That's why it's so funny that Chris Cuomo is called Fredo. Really, it's Andrew Cuomo because he's the one that's going to get put out on the rowboat and shot in the back of the head.
Pretty much.
Wait, Odie, Biden dropped an N-bomb at the UN today. I think we might get Kamala sooner than you think.
I've not. If that is in fact true, then I think you're right. Regardless, I think
he didn't mean to say it. He was stumbling over his speech and happened to accidentally.
What was he talking about?
Hating black people, oddly enough, but that wasn't the part he meant to say.
I don't want to say it, but I'll say right before he said.
Well, don't say the actual N-word part. Just say what he was talking about.
He said eager to the eager and
eager to.
Eager sounds kind of like that. He stumbled over his speech and then said,
I figured he'd say eager beaver, not eager.
But the funniest fucking part was that they had it on the closed caption thing on the TV.
It's probably automated closed captioning. It's not a person actually doing it anymore.
What he said though, it was N-word ED blank ed.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Oh, I've seen newscasters get fired for less. So wasn't that somebody got fired for? It wasn't even the N-word. It was something. Oh, Martin Luther. I won't say because I don't want this to get taken down. But basically, COON, I think they accidentally said that trying to transition.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember that? And they transitioned to something else, and they got fired the next day. It was clearly just the next word, and just this accidental slip of the tongue. Joe Biden clearly can get away with it though, because what can't Joe Biden get away with?
Yeah. Did you see Biden? It was Biden and Kamala talking frontline healthcare workers, going back and forth, talking to a doctor and talking to a nurse.
Frontline doctors,
and they're talking to a head nurse out in the field at one of these testing sites, and she does her whole update on what's happening out there, and Biden's like, are you in college? You look like you're in college.
Oh yeah.
She's like,
do you know my grandson? His named Hunter too.
No. He was doing it. It was in a flirting way, oh, you don't look old enough. Are you a doctor? You don't look old enough to be a doctor. That kind of way.
He leans in and sniffs her hair. He's like, oh, no. You're much too ripe. Much too ripe to be a doctor.
Did you see that thing where people were tweeting that Biden doesn't sniff black kids' hair just to get people to Google it and get that to rise and whatever, and then see him sniffing all the other kids' hair.
Well, I think that about wraps it up here.
I would concur. This we spent an hour talking about this piece of shit. Nobody should watch it, by the way. I give it 0 paws out of 4 or 5, whatever our system is. What a horrible waste of my goddamn time.
I'll give it a paw. But I will talk about Jason Carrier, who recommended this. One of our longest patrons. So that's awesome for Jason. We appreciate Jason's support.
I guarantee he did not watch it. I guarantee he just made us watch it.
I watched it twice. So you're telling me he didn't watch it?
I guarantee he didn't watch it. He'll probably be on we'll do our Mufasa call for our $25 and up page.
He's usually on Discord.
I doubt he'll be on there.
So if you guys want to be able to recommend one of these things for us to watch or create a show, recommend a guest, whatever, or you want to be on our Mufasa call, or you just want to be in the Pride, go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty and sign up, because if we get from where we are now, which is 2,000 and change, up to 3,000, what happens, Brian? What happens at 3,000?
Are we going to animate Do Nothing Man?
I believe so. Yeah.
Is there anything else? What am I forgetting?
I don't know. I think that's it.
Well, we will. So by Do Nothing Man episodes, I'm working on one right now, which is based around Robin Hood. So that'll be fun. That will be out within the next couple of weeks. And then we also, we're also going to do more travel this year, because shit's kind of actually going to be happening. So maybe Freedom Fest, maybe Childerberg we're talking about, maybe Pork Fest. We don't know yet. We have to figure it out. But that goes to going to do more live events at those shows. And other stuff we use the money on, I don't know. Maybe we'll buy Rico some lights so you can see his face once in a while. Maybe.
All right. That's all I got. Bye.
Later.